All right, we are live on tonight's Upsolve webinar. I am not wearing my Upsolve shirt, so I would not fault you for not realizing it was an Upsolve webinar. This is truly a tragedy of laundry. I had company in town and have not cleaned my Upsolve hoodie. So, hello from Gray T-shirt land. Tonight's webinar is debt settlement versus bankruptcy, getting a sense of what makes sense for whom and when. I'm Ben Jackson. I'm one of the co-founders of Upsolve, and I owe honestly much of who I am and what I have today to the life-changing power of bankruptcy in my life. And if you're here, you likely have a lot of debt, or you know somebody that has a lot of debt, and you're trying to help them, and you're looking for options. And if that's you, you are in the right place. Back when I had a ton of debt, $60,000, and I was only earning $20,000 in debt, excuse me, in income every year. Bankruptcy is a lifeline for me because I really couldn't afford to pay my way out. But for other people who might be in slightly better financial position or who just have certain creditors, debt settlement, which is paying off your debt often for less than you owe, can be a great option. And that's why we have tonight's guest, Michael Bovee, who's joining us again tonight. Michael, welcome back. Michael is one of the nation's leading voices on debt relief. He's been doing this for over 25 years. He's helped thousands of people settle their debts, sidestep scams, which is really important because the debt settlement space has a lot of unscrupulous actors, let's say. And in doing this, Michael's helped them take control of their finances. He's the founder of the Consumer Recovery Network and a leading advocate for fair, transparent practices in the debt settlement world. So, Michael, how does this Monday evening find you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, no, I like Mondays. Mondays get a bad
I
rap.
also like Mondays. Wednesdays make me sad because it's like we're over the hump, but it's over the hump to like finish the rest of the work that I have in 2 days. So I feel you.
Oh boy, yeah.
Well, welcome back. Last time you were here, we covered a whole lot, and the feedback on it was amazing. That's actually one of our highest streamed webinars so far. So thank you for bringing your wisdom. And to kick things off with you tonight, when you look at the people you've helped over the years, what's one big myth or misconception about debt settlement that you wish more people understood?
Um, I talk to people at every stage of the life cycle of debt, every inflection of the decision-making process of what to do about that debt. And probably the biggest issue I've seen is the people I can't
Mm,
help because they're too far
sure.
gone, or they made some decisions
Sure.
early on that I wish I could have wound the clock back. And it's that debt settlement is something that they can take a while to do,
Mm,
right? You need oh, yeah, because my industry, the debt settlement industry at large, loves to market debt settlement as
quick
this
fix.
4
Yeah.
or 5-year repayment plan, right? It's not like
Mm,
that. Creditors aren't that patient. You do need to try if you want to get through debt
hmm.
settlement, and I consider getting through it and completing it, meaning every debt settled, not just a couple.
Sure.
It's go faster, right? So this
Okay.
misconception, because it's easier to market and it's
Mm,
easier to feel that relief of anxiety and fear and apprehension about not paying your bills on time. And oh well, if you can't afford $800 a month for your credit cards and loans, how about we just have you set aside $400 a month, and all of a sudden the relief kicks in. It
sure.
feels like that's going to be the ticket, and you don't know any better. And then you're 2 years in, and you're dealing with 3 lawsuits and things like that. That settlement isn't catch all. It's not a panacea, frankly, for 26 years. And I'm going to tell you, it's
Yeah.
something to avoid. It really is.
Yeah.
Speed is your friend. That's the walk away
Okay.
from that comment as debt settlement should be done as fast as you can make it go for yourself.
As fast as you can make it go. I heard somebody talking about compound interest, and we always talk about compound interest in terms of the money that your money can make you. But the thing we don't think about is the money that your money loses you. Like the longer that you're staying in debt, the longer you take to settle, the worse things often get for you. So I love that piece of wisdom. So we're going to be comparing debt settlement and bankruptcy. Obviously, you do a lot of debt settlement work. Upsolve, we've actually now handled 14% of the country's bankruptcies annually, which is crazy. Just found
It
that
is
out the other day. So I,
quite a
I
feat.
agree with you.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. It's amazing to have this many people trust us with this, and I think one of the reasons they do is because we're willing to give it to them straight. So I'll say, same as you said, bankruptcy also sucks. It's a thing that is not fun to do. It it can be very confusing. It comes with a lot of shame and stigma in society. Like there's hope on the other side of it. I'm an example of that. Like I said, I have pretty much everything that I have because I filed bankruptcy and moved forward. But I think one of the things that would be really helpful for people is to kind of look at debt settlement and bankruptcy head to head, so you can get a sense of which one of those things is going to suck less or be the right kind of suck that you need to solve your problems. So when do you think debt settlement makes sense, and when do you think bankruptcy makes sense?
Well, it's math. I mean,
Yep.
that's really what it boils down to. Historically, if you owe less than 10K, assume you could settle the 10K for, or whatever that balance is under 10K. Maybe it's 8K. Assume you could settle for half. That's 4 grand,
Okay.
and you can only file Chapter 7 once every 8 years. Is the 4,000 the difference of settling 8 grand for four or filing bankruptcy? Is that when you play that card?
Mhm.
Generally, I think a lot of people are going to look at the math and go, nah, I think I'll save it for a different day. Maybe
Sure.
I need major medical issues 4 years from now, and it's
Sure.
tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and I'll play that
Mhm.
card then. Um, but the math is often, I try to help people understand the three mainstream intervention steps they can take to resolve a debt problem. One, work directly with your banks, either by yourself or through a nonprofit credit counseling agency, get your interest rates reduced, make your monthly payments more affordable. I don't even say bank or debt settlement second, I go to bankruptcy. And
Mm.
I've always got bankruptcyaction.org on my screen. It's open all day long for me. And it helps me help somebody I'm on the phone with determine whether or not they're going to qualify for Chapter 7, right? Based on their state's means test for their household formation. And if you can file bankruptcy and the national average cost, according to Bob Wallace, at least the last time I saw one of his reports, and this is before all the inflation, was about $1,800
Mhm.
for bankruptcy. Coastal cities, it's a little higher.
Yep.
You get inland like I am, it might be a little lower, but that's using an attorney.
Mhm.
Using Upsolve, it's far, far less expensive. But I try to help people understand that, look, you're coming to me with a $27,000 unsecured debt problem. If you can
Mhm.
wipe all that out with bankruptcy and have your credit back on track inside of a year, have credit card offers in your mailbox a month after your bankruptcy is done. They're not good credit cards, but they're there
Mhm.
nonetheless to help you rebuild. You can get a car loan at a decent rate a year after bankruptcy. You can qualify for a mortgage 2, 3 years after bankruptcy.
Mhm.
But you tell me that it's going to take you 2 years to do your settlement. Again, math, the calendar is a function of math. Would you rather have all your debt wiped out, 27K in this example, for under 2 grand, or have it take 13 to $15,000
Right.
over 2 years and
Yep.
have it take another 6 to 12 months for your credit to bounce back after you finish your settlements 2 years later?
Yep.
When you make that comparison, debt settlement loses, or it should
Mhm.
lose, just based on math, right? So for people that qualify for Chapter 7, frankly, bankruptcy is a better, it really is.
Hmm.
That settlement, as long as I've been doing this stuff, it's a better alternative for probably more than 50% of the people that would be forced into a Chapter 13 because they can't do a Chapter 7.
Sure.
But anybody that can do a Chapter 7 should probably take a very close look at it. And fine, if you qualify and you still want to avoid it, just your eyes wide open and know what you're getting into with that settlement.
Mhm.
Understand the math of who's going to settle for what, when, how long they'll give you to pay that, so that you can go through debt settlement with confidence.
Mhm.
But you can't argue. It's hard to argue with math, right? There's other reasons why
Yeah.
people try not to do Chapter 7. Math
Yeah.
isn't one of them if you
Yeah,
qualify.
you can, you just usually lose. So I defined debt settlement earlier as paying back a little bit less or often a lot less than what you owe, whether that's to a creditor or to a debt collector. How would you define debt settlement? The same or a little different?
Yeah, I mean, it's an offer. You're finding a balance between what whoever's got your account, because your account can change hands, what they're
Mhm.
willing to take and what you're able to pay. And
Okay.
oftentimes it's not a question of whether it's one account. Most people have multiple accounts that they have to negotiate and settle. So you kind of, that
Sure.
settlement is keeping a weathered eye. I mean, taking advantage of whatever's in front of you, the offer that you negotiate, but also keeping a keen eye on the future things that you've yet to settle, and know how you're going to navigate those before you agree to the first one, right? That's an
Got
intelligent
it.
design to debt settlement rather than slapstick, throw something against the wall and hope it sticks.
Okay, got it. So just running through the things you've said so far. If you are somebody who has less than $10,000 in debt, but you're struggling with it, and you think you might have future debt coming up that would potentially be a better fit for bankruptcy, like let's say you know that you're going to lose your job and you're going to have, a medical procedure coming up or something like that. That might not be the time to file bankruptcy because you're blocked from doing it again for up to 8 years. So in that instance, that's somebody who might want to settle instead of filing. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's often I find that to be the case. It's not the
Okay.
case all the time, especially
Mhm.
if you're already got judgments against you. Maybe your wages are being garnished. Bankruptcy is going to stop all that junk, right? So
Okay.
even with smaller debt loads, bankruptcy can still make sense.
Gotcha. Okay. And the reason being bankruptcy is a reset, but you can't take that reset all that often. Settlements is a negotiation, which is really just a function of can I negotiate right now? So, what does it look like when you're negotiating? Like, what does that process sound like? How does it usually go? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
You learn to appreciate the folks that pay for good hold music. I'm just, I'm only partly joking. Um, a negotiation, it's typically it's a function of timing. In fact, I'll just tell you, there's two ingredients to debt settlement. It's resources and timing. You
Okay.
control resources, nobody else. They control timing. In other words, whoever's got your account, they're willing to do what they're willing to do when they're willing to do it, and you can't really influence that, right? So, one, you have to be late enough on a bill.
Hmm.
With credit cards, that's generally 90 plus days, often even 5 to 6 months late. Anything after that, it's all fair game. Anything
Okay.
past charge off on a credit card or a loan, it's out there with collectors or law firms. All of that is good to go, highly negotiable. Um, but you have to keep pace with your
Hmm.
resources, right? And so it's sometimes you just you get, save up 3 paychecks, knock down a day. And then you got to save up five more from 5 more different paychecks or pay periods.
Hmm.
Then you get to knock down another debt, right? So it's a function when you're doing it in the wisest possible way to optimize savings and eliminate risk. And I define risk of having your account go to an attorney who's going to sue you. If
Gotcha.
you're doing it the right way, you're optimizing savings and eliminating risk.
Okay. So what's the right way in that? Is it, I know you've said timing a couple of times. Is it just a question of timing? Like walk me through what the right way and like right timing is.
So I mean, we'll just do some what
Okay.
ifs. Let's say you have 2 credit cards and a best egg
Okay.
loan or something, some kind of marketplace lender like that. That's not like a bank, and all of them are $5,000. Okay. And one of your credit card banks has a reputation for being very aggressive right after charge off, which is at 180 days of consecutive non-payment. They have a tendency to place accounts with collection law firms. And the second creditor does that, but their reputation is more of we're going to at least send it to one
Hmm.
collection agency or maybe two before we ever send it to an attorney. And then you've got a marketplace lender like Best Egg. I'm picking
Okay.
on them, but it could be any of the marketplace lenders because most of those guys don't
Mm.
sue. They sell debt to debt
Oh,
buyers that
interesting.
sue. So let's assume that, yeah, you've got those 3 accounts. And when you approach debt settlement in a very methodical, um, manner where you go and okay, well, I'm going to eliminate risk by making sure that the first 6 months I haven't been paying these guys, I'm saving up my money, and I'm going to approach my aggressive creditor
Okay.
first, right? So that I can keep it from going to an
Mhm.
attorney. That second place, I know I'm going to have to deal with a collection agency, and because I'm going to be settling with them after charge off, I'll be able to get better than 90-day terms because most credit card banks are precluded from giving you better than 90-day payment terms on a settlement if they haven't charged the
Mm.
debt off yet. That's a huge element of
Okay.
timing. So you've got this, okay, these guys are first, these guys are
Mhm.
second. This last one is going to sell the debt to a debt buyer who's going
Mhm.
to give me 12 or 24 months to
Yeah.
pay it. So this is you kind of take each of those 3 creditors and you go, all right, this one I do at month 5 with the money I
Mm.
saved up. This one I do after, and I'm going to pay it over 12 months. And then right around month 11, I've got it situated such that I get my tax refund in April of next year. And so I'll be able to get a head start on that third one and final one,
Gotcha.
and I'll make installments on it, right? So this is stuff that I can do with somebody in a 10-minute, 15-minute phone call, right? It's
Thank
something that I
thank
do
God, because my
really,
head
yeah,
is spinning just listening to this.
yeah. I mean,
How do
on my
how do you
YouTube
know these
channel,
things? Like,
and
how do
it,
you
well,
know if
because
a
you do it
creditor's
every
more
day.
aggressive? How do you know if a
Yeah, yeah.
creditor's more aggressive or less aggressive or anything like that?
Because you do it every day, right?
Yeah,
People
sure.
don't know this stuff, and it's hard to find credible resources that know
Sure.
this stuff, let alone willing to share it with you for free. And I'm
Yeah.
that guy, right? So you go to my YouTube channel, and it's got every comment is open. You can just post questions in any related video to what you're dealing with, and I'll answer you every day, 7 days a week, right? Um,
Right here. Definitely check it out. I have it up
you
on the
know,
screen.
yeah, and on our website, right, all the comments on virtually all the articles are open. So you can participate with me. You don't have to take time off my calendar that somebody else needs if your situation is basic and you just have a post it. Now, sometime question in order for me to give you the kind of feedback because I do care about giving people thorough feedback. I might have 3 questions
Yep.
of my own. And I'll say, okay, I understand what you're asking about. Well, listen, tell me this. Boom, 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 boom. You post your answers, and then I say, okay, in that case, this is what I would do if it were me. Right. And so that's how you build successful plans and get intel on what you can do for yourself that you don't have to hire people to do for you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because I can't even imagine, like, I'm thinking back to when I was struggling with debt. If I had been trying to figure out who was likely to sue me when, I would have never done anything because that it seems impossible to know unless you're in the market like you are. So if you're struggling with this, if this is something that you're considering, definitely check out Michael's resources because he's not kidding. He's on this call for free. He's on his website for free. He's on this YouTube for free giving out advice. Obviously, if his services make sense, he makes money from those, but he is definitely willing to help you with those things for free. So take him up on it. So when you think about the process of calling in to settle your debt, I know you've said before that like your success in that environment really depends on you thinking right, like a creditor. What does that mean? What does it mean to think like a creditor?
All right. So typically, every flavor of debt collector, doesn't matter the variety, creditor all the way
Mhm.
to a law firm and everything in between. They have and use real time access to your credit report and form a baseline opinion of how collectible you should be to them. So, what does that mean? Assume back to the earlier example, 2 credit cards, 5K, and a marketplace lender for 5K, 3 accounts, 15K.
Mhm.
Those are late, and you're starting to call around and negotiate. You're 5 months late on all three. And that makes you look bad. Okay.
Okay.
But let's say, for example, you have a mortgage, a second mortgage, you have a car loan that you're paying on time. This all makes sense because if you don't pay your mortgage, you're out, right? They foreclose. You don't pay
Mhm.
your car, they come take
Yep.
it, right? They repossess. But you're also paying 2 other credit cards, right?
Okay.
And some student loans. Well, you look a little more collectible than somebody who doesn't have those. It's like maybe they rent and they don't have an asset. If I'm a debt collector and you have a home, okay, well, maybe you are having a hard time right now. But if I sue you and I get a court judgment, lien against your home, and then you'll pay eventually when you sell the home, or you want that
Gotcha.
just makes somebody like that. Like if I'm thinking like a debt collector, I want to know what they see about me and then try to kind of back into an assessment of like, all right, well then, you know, if I settle this first debt and I only get 90 days to pay it, like our earlier example, but that's the right thing to do to
Mhm.
not get sued, I also need to know that after 90 days and I gave them all the money within 30 days of completing that settlement, generally the creditor is going to update the credit report to show that I just settled the debt. Now, everybody else that I've got to call, those other 2 people, they'll have real time access to see my success with settling a debt.
Gotcha.
And suddenly now I don't look, I'm making progress, right? So just there's more to it to think like a debt collector, but that's that's a pretty big part of their formula. If they're gonna assign a collectability score, I'm not talking about a credit score. I'm talking about you look collectible on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe you look like a 7. Maybe you look like a 4. Add a 0 to that. Does a 7 pay
Sure.
70%? Does a 4 pay 40% on their settlement? That's oversimplified, but it's descriptive enough.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So the person that I'm talking to on the phone when I call in to settle debt, like, what power do they actually have? Like, can just anybody that I talk to say like, "Hey, Michael, great, like 30% sounds good to me."
No, no.
Okay.
So typically, there are policies and procedures and protocols at each lender for sure.
Okay.
And even at collection agencies, sometimes they're collecting for your bank. Banks that don't sell debt, right? They just use these collection agencies and they're given some latitude of what they
Mhm.
can settle for, anything underneath this floor, and they've got to go back to whoever sent them that account for permission, right? So there's not like this whole across the board ability to deal with you one on one and adjust
Mm,
to your circumstances versus somebody else's.
okay.
There's there's just walls. There's a lane, and they probably have to stay in it, right?
So they have a script,
So
I would imagine.
yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
they're able to do what they're able to do. And sometimes, and certain banks right now, you'll call in and they say, this is what's on the screen. They'll just be honest with you. And I really appreciate all of the collectors and all of the banks out there that are super transparent when they
Yeah.
just say, listen, this is what the screen says, and it's going to say
Mm,
this all month. It's the third.
okay.
Call back next month, right? It's
Yeah,
are
that's
just that honest, right?
yeah.
And true to their word, when you call back the following month, something moved, something changed.
Mm,
Sometimes, maybe not
okay.
all the time. So I appreciate that. But then there's
Yeah.
times where you're calling a collection agency and they're skilled. Like one of the larger contingency collection companies in the country, they have tiered collectors, right? Tiered one, two, three, and four. Their fourth tier
Mm,
collectors have been at the job more than 10 years. They're very seasoned. They're very, very good at their job, right? They
sure.
don't need the LexisNexis or the Westlaw or the Experian collection software suite to do their
Sure.
job and assign a collectability score. They can take one glance at your credit report and they assign their own, right? Just like I
Gotcha.
can do all the stuff I do around debt settlement. Imagine a
Yep.
collector that can do that
Yeah.
in a split second doing their
Yeah.
job, right?
Like
They're
the
super good.
Jedis of debt collection, or the Sith maybe
Right.
of debt collection. Yeah.
Yes, and maybe
Yeah.
they do have a little bit more latitude,
Okay.
or their supervisor is gonna follow their lead and they gotta go get
Yep.
permission, but they're often able to get that kind of
Mhm.
latitude for you because it's
Mhm.
unique, your situation, they look at everything, they believe you, you're sincere, they can see the limitations, it's not your money, your mom's loaning you the money, this
Sure.
is the last it's tax time. Anybody that's watching this and you have a little bit of money from tax time, guess what? This is where more bankruptcies are filed per annum because people get a one-off infusion of cash to afford it. It's also the best couple of months for debt settlement and for
Mm.
collectors to
Yeah, you
get
have cash.
bonuses and
Mm.
whatnot. Yeah, because you've got it.
Okay.
This is a great time to go feel out what kind of offers you can get.
That's really interesting. So I've been getting some questions coming in. I don't think I've said it live yet, so sorry everybody if you are on here and didn't see this in the chat. But you can ask whatever questions you have live of Michael and I in the chat. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. They'll come in from all over. Just got one that I'll drop in the chat here, Michael. Can I settle medical debt the same way I'd settle credit card debt?
Yes
Okay.
and no. Um, you have to understand that sometimes there are contractual obligations for medical service providers and medical billing companies with insurance. And it says something, the term I use, and I've got a video up about this on my YouTube channel, settling medical, that is illegal discounting. Nothing wrong.
Mm,
I'm just saying that contractually, they've said, hey, if you give their copay or something, we've already paid you our part, our 80%, they owe 20%, and you give them a discount, you have to retroactively give us the same discount you gave them, and
interesting.
send us money back. Well, how often do hospitals and medical billing companies send money back to insurance companies?
Yeah.
Like never, right?
Never. Yeah.
So you can run into situations like that where contractually they might want to help you, but they're unable to in the traditional sense of debt settlement. But
Hmm.
other than issues like that, and then super fresh medical debt, I find less negotiable. Once you get to
Hmm.
6 and 12 months late on a medical bill, and especially if you're dealing with collection agencies, Wakefield and Associates, I think, is the largest medical debt collector in the country. These guys all deal. They wanna get paid. They're contingency collectors. They
Hmm.
get paid contingent upon getting you to pay. So getting something from you is going to help them as well. So it
Makes a
is
lot of
negotiable.
sense. Okay.
people.
And do you see people trying less often to settle now that medical debt doesn't really show up on your credit reports? It's less of a problem per se than it was in the past. Has this changed people's actions trying to settle these things?
So there's been some developments there that may
Mhm.
not last year, what you thought wasn't going to be on your credit report may.
Mm,
Today, I still think that anything less than 500 is not on there and probably not going to be on there. And
interesting.
that's something that the bureaus themselves came together and agreed to. But there's no, I would say that medical debt on a forward-looking basis, I'm a little concerned that what we thought was gonna happen with medical debt and coming off the credit reports isn't gonna happen. There are some
Mm,
challenges right now, to that rule that the CFPB was part.
okay.
I mean, it's just I'm skeptical as whether or not that's gonna go through. So you'll still potentially see medical debt on your credit reports,
Got it.
and you still may want to negotiate those down.
Okay. Well, that's really good to know. Worth the price of admission right there. So this is a great question. What do I do if I try to settle and a creditor or a debt collector says no?
Um, think about the timing,
Okay.
right? I told you there's 2 ingredients. Are you hearing no because you're not late enough on the account?
Okay.
And that's a common mistake. People call their creditor and start talking settlement, and they're not yet. That ain't happening.
Hmm.
Let's get past 90 days, right? Some of
Yeah.
them will say no until you're
Sure.
5 months late. So there are situations it's it's you can't get it done because of the clock.
Got it.
There are times where you're trying
And
to.
you
I learned years ago to be
lost you there for a second, Michael. You glitched out. I apologize. You said you learned something years ago. Oh,
what was that?
oh,
Oh,
sorry. You
as
you
much
glitched out a little
information
bit.
from my
I heard you say,
client as
yeah.
trying to
Hmm.
set as negotiable because it's
Gotcha.
too new. You show it some balance to in the last year. Some creditors problematic here. Speaking the
I think
associated
sorry if anybody else is having this issue. Michael's cutting out a
with
little bit for me. I
or
apologize,
who
guys.
has the only let's
Yeah, not sure. Little
okay,
technical
I think we're
difficulties.
live.
Apologize there. All right.
There are reasons why you can't posting in YouTube or scheduling a call with me through my calendar. It's public. Take a little slice of my day. And if you're running into problems settling a debt, let's talk about
All
why.
right. So you said something a little bit ago, Michael, that piqued my curiosity a little bit. You were mentioning that if you're getting close to 90 days, getting close to 180 days, you're going to get a different response from the debt collector or the creditor. What sorts of things should you be listening for that would indicate, like, oh, maybe this is the time to spring on this, or maybe this is the time where they're going to sue? Are there common things that they'll say or do or anything like that? Uh, Lost it right there. Sorry, I think we're losing Michael for some reason. Give me 1 second to try to get him back in. Sorry, everybody.
I
Technical
caught
difficulties here on this post Easter Monday. Looks like we lost Michael. I apologize. Not sure what happened there, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue on with these. Give me 1 second. Um, So, a couple other questions that came through. Will I owe taxes on settled debt? So, yes, in many cases, you may owe taxes on debt that's forgiven. The IRS considers canceled debt of $600 or more taxable income. So, if you settle $5,000 for $2,000, the forgiven $3,000 might be considered income, and you'd report that on the 1099-C. Let me see if I can add Michael back in here. Hey, Michael. We
Hey,
got you. I don't know what was going on there. Latoya couldn't hear you either. So apparently fiber is not working for us tonight. We were just answering the question about owing taxes on settled debt. I mentioned that the difference between what you owe and what you settle for is usually taxable. Is that correct? Square with your knowledge?
yeah, if it's over $600 that you save in any settlement, then you need to prepare for any tax implications. There is something called the insolvency rule, and that allows you to submit IRS qualify for the insolvency rule where you may not. It's more of an asset
Hmm.
versus liability equation that you need to do individually, and it matters that you do it at the exact time you settle the debt or finished paying for a settlement. So you're going to do that calculation in July if you finished your settlement in July. And if you do another settlement in October, you're going to have to recalculate whether or not you meet the insolvency exemption later in October. So just be aware that, but talk to Tax Pro about whether or not it's going to apply to you.
How much do
And Ben, can you hear
settlements
me okay?
impact my
Okay.
credit? Yeah, I can hear you okay now.
Not
You're
much.
coming through. Um,
Yeah.
So another question that's coming through, do settlements hurt my credit more than bankruptcy, or how much would a settlement affect my credit relative to some other sort of debt intervention?
That's a whole webinar. It really is. Um, and it's, what's funny, not even
Yeah.
funny. This is credit is the most frequently asked question I've ever gotten over my career. What is X going to
Mm,
do to my credit?
same.
Um,
Yep.
I just tell people, look, Chapter 7 bankruptcy will put you back on track with your credit goals inside of a year or two. And if your debt settlement is going to take you 2 years, Chapter 7 is better for you for your credit, even, right? For your credit score, for your
Yeah.
financing, a lot of different things because your settlements are going to take, is going to be so quick. Um, think about it
Yep.
that way. But in the context
Yeah.
of I've got three accounts to settle, like we gave the example earlier, two credit cards and a loan, all
Hmm.
three 5K, and it's going to take you 2 years to settle those, and you fall late and you started out with a 660 credit score, it wasn't that great, but it wasn't that bad. You're going to drop down to say
Yeah.
520, and you're going to stay there until you start settling a debt. Now, that first debt that you settle and
Yeah.
updates to your credit, you might go from 520 to 580, right? Finance a loaf of bread, about 580.
Sure.
And so, second settlement done, and now you're what? You're 13, 24 months duration. Your second settlement gets
Yep.
updated to your credit. And now you went from a 580, let's say, to a, this is all hypothetical, but I've watched this happen. Maybe now you're at a 620. And then you get the third account
Sure.
settled at 20 months, 24 months, and now you're at a 660, and you just take 6 more months to get up to 700. I mean, settlement updating on your credit, if it's just a your credit bounces back super fast. But one
Okay.
settlement with four left to go or something, you're not going to move the needle very
Yeah.
much, not until you're more than halfway done with
Got
your
it.
settlements. So think about how long those
Got
settlements
it.
are going to take you. And if you're
Yeah.
very credit score, credit centric, you're again, Betsy's going to compete with them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if you have like maybe one debt that's weighing you down quite a lot or weighing your credit down quite a lot, then maybe settlement makes the most sense because it's gone, your credit's going to go up. But if you're in a situation where you're considering bankruptcy because you have a whole mountain of debt that's weighing you down, a one at a time approach might not necessarily make sense. Um, I love your line. I'm going to take that with me. You can't finance a loaf of bread on 580. That was Michael. Unsurprisingly, awesome wisdom. Thanks so much for sharing it. Sorry for the tech issues. Before we wrap up, what's one thing that you'd want somebody watching this to remember if they're feeling overwhelmed by debt right now? Oh, well, the one thing is a smart gesture. I think we lost you again there, Michael. I apologize. I'm gonna do your outro for you, so you don't have to worry about jumping back in. So give me 1 second. So I'll tell you what I would say normally, and that is if you're struggling with debt, like you're not alone. Debt is shameful in this country. It shouldn't be because it's really difficult to live in this country without debt. Whether that debt is credit card debt, or whether it's medical debt, or whether it's student loan debt, that is just part of being an American, and it is so overwhelming sometimes to feel like you can't get ahead without accumulating debt. And so if you do have a lot of it, you're not alone. You're like the most normal person ever. And if you're struggling, even more normal because it's exhausting to have tons of debt. So whether you consider settlement or whether you consider bankruptcy or whether you just try to pay your way out, totally understandable, totally behind you, want to provide resources that we can. You can head over to Michael's website, which I'll throw up on the screen here right now. Give me one moment. So you can head over to Michael's website, consumerrecoverynetwork.com, if you want to learn more about debt settlement, or if you want just a free consultation that'll help you understand if settlement or consolidation or bankruptcy is a better option for you. You can also head over to Upsolve's website at upsolve.org. You can do the free bankruptcy screener to see if bankruptcy could potentially be a good fit. And if it is, we can help you complete those forms for free. So you're not alone. You don't need to be ashamed of your debt. There is hope on the other side, and resources like Michael's or like Upsolve can be a great way forward. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content like it. Follow us on our Instagram for more straight talk about debt. Actually was streaming this live there, so thank you if you're already over there watching. And don't forget, we're here if you're exploring bankruptcy as an option. You can check out our past content, future content, and just shoot us questions as you have them. Definitely encourage you to take advantage of Michael's wisdom as well over on his website or YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and a big thanks to Michael for dropping in. Again, so sorry for the tech issues. Not sure if it was me or him, but either way, really appreciate the wisdom.